I'm going to do something a little bit differently than the way I normally do it. Normally, I take you through a study or present a message, some sort of biblical topic. I don't oftentimes do what some people might call reactions or evaluations or critiques. I might have done a couple of them in the past over the years. I can't really remember. I think I did a song one time. But this one has to do with an issue that is near and dear to my heart, and that is this issue of sanctification. What does it actually mean? And I come from a sovereign grace perspective, but I am diametrically opposed to those on the Reformed side who assert what has come to be known as progressive sanctification. Now, I've made some videos about progressive sanctification, but this one is going to be an evaluation of a discussion between two theologians, Tim Keller and John Piper, as they discuss sanctification. And their dismay is very obvious in the video, but we're going to evaluate it practically and theologically. Because their mentality is the norm among reformers. Now, really, if you ask anyone about sanctification, it could be a dispensationalist. They don't have to be reformers. They can be moderate Arminians or even full Arminians, but people talk about progressive sanctification as a moral sanctification, a moral growth, or a growth in thought. But you will see their wordsmithery, and I'm not saying it's malicious, but you just hear the doubt exuding from both of them. And I'm not wanting to criticize. I'm actually wanting to be compassionate on their position, okay? Not compassionate necessarily the doctrine, but more on them, that they're stuck. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And no pun intended, that rock is Jesus, and they want to claim grace, but then they have this idea about progressive sanctification that is just, it's so sad to watch them just grasping for the wind to try and make sense of it, because they want to embrace grace. They want to love justification by faith, but they are stuck with this just dismal and debilitating view of progressive sanctification. So let's take a look from the beginning. I will stop the video at times and just address problematic areas of their discussion.
Thank you, Tim, for taking whatever time we can squeeze in here.
Great, yep.
We're at the Redeemer offices here in New York. I don't think I've been here on this floor anyway before, so thank you. We're going to do some other things together tonight, but right now we want to talk about sanctification and holiness. And it's in the air, especially as it relates to gospel and motivation.
Yeah. Yes.
So how do you like to talk about it? I'm going to just give you a free menu right here to just say, when you consider sanctification and holiness, what's a helpful way to talk about it? What is it? Why is it important?
Well, you would usually say that I absolutely believe in what the Reformed people call the third use of the law, that now that I'm a Christian and I've been saved by the gospel, I'm still obligated to obey the law, but the law demands both inner holiness, inner change, as well as external righteousness.
First of all, the third use of the law, and that we're still under it to a certain degree, that now that you become a Christian, it demands this inner holiness and outward righteousness. Well, first of all, if we all are honest with our thought life, if Jesus is correct when he says, you've heard it was said of old, you shall not commit adultery, but I say to you, whoever looks upon a woman to lust after her has committed adultery in his heart. If that's true, ask yourself the question, are you breaking the law on a daily basis? And if so, is that not practicing sin. So outward righteousness, outward behavior, and inward holiness. Well, really, inward holiness. And now he's making a distinction. He is not talking about the imputed holiness, the imputed righteousness of Christ. He is not talking about that at all. He is talking about behavior, thought patterns, and outward righteousness.
And I say what the gospel does is it gives me especially a new, profoundly new motives. That before I understood the gospel, I might have tried to be moral and virtuous, but I think what Edwards would say in Nature, True Virtue is that it's basically selfish. It's essentially, I may be obeying God, but I'm obeying for myself. And I'm actually not obeying for God's sake. I'm obeying for my sake because I want to get something. That's radically different once you understand the gospel. My motivations now aren't fear. They're delight, desire to delight Him and please Him. That means I'm essentially, I have essentially positive motivations to do it. It means my obedience will be more unconditional because I won't be looking so much at what am I getting out of it right now. I'm doing.
Okay, now I'm just wanting to emphasize the motivation. This motivation has changed, right? Listen to what he says there again.
Just conditional, essentially positive motivations to do it. It means my obedience will be more unconditional because I won't be looking so much at what am I getting out of it right now. I'm doing it just to please the one who saved me and to honor the one whose character I aspire to imitate. I think Walter Marshall's gospel mystery of sanctification says it this way, that you need the comforts of the gospel in order to fulfill the law.
Right there, the phrase fulfill the law. You need the comforts of the gospel in order to fulfill the law. Right there, we cannot fulfill the law. We can't. It's impossible. When Jesus said, I did not come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law, he was talking about fulfilling it per Romans 8, verses 1 through 4. That Christ, what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh, God, in sending His Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin, condemned sin in the flesh. So he's saying right before that, he says, there's therefore now no condemnation. But it said that He might fulfill the law, that the law might be fulfilled in us. It's fulfilled in us already. We can't fulfill it. The carnal mind is at enmity with God. It is not subject to the law of God, neither indeed can be. That is crucial. He is talking about a practice of fulfilling the law. He's not talking at this point about Christ fulfilling the law on our behalf, but he'll get there, and it's very inconsistent. Continue.
That's pretty much what I would say too.
Yeah, so when you talk about the third use of the law, or holiness, external righteousness, internal purity of heart,
yes.
Right motives.
Right.
What is it out here that we're conforming to? And surely not the legal codes of the Old Testament. When you say law,
yeah, right.
I mean, the New Testament talks about the law of Christ.
So he is very specific. It's not the legal codes. The law is legal. Law, legality, they go hand in hand.
Right.
So what are you sending
people?
Well,
there might be a little difference between us. I mean, the Presbyterians sometimes don't make the distinction like they should. But generally, it's the difference. The Mosaic law had the ceremonial law involved, which we do believe was fulfilled in Christ.
All right, stop there. He's implying, but the moral code, or perhaps even civil code, was not fulfilled in Christ? Think about it. Think about what he's saying. The ceremonial law, that was fulfilled in Christ. If the other parts of the law were not fulfilled in Christ, we're doomed. We are doomed. Think about it. The rest of the law has to be fulfilled in Christ. But he's implying that just the ceremonial law was fulfilled in Christ, but the others we have to try and obey, or obey with better motives. Not necessarily get it perfect, because we're going to violate it. We're going to sin. But he would say, but we have an advocate. But we're slowly getting better and better. We're progressively being sanctified, obeying the law to a greater and greater degree. But the ceremonial law, we're not under that anymore, which, of course, Sabbaths are ceremonies, and that is one of the commandments. You shall keep the Sabbath day holy. Huge problems with the 10 commandments not being fulfilled. Let's see what he says.
Not so much it was abrogated, but that Christ is fulfilling it. When I believe in Christ now, I don't need to go through the washings, and I'm clean in him.
Yeah.
So what he's doing is he's partitioning the law. The law is good. It's just. It's holy. It was never meant to be partitioned. The law was never meant to be divided into civil, ceremonial, and moral and judicial. It was never meant to be divided. It is what part and parcel. It is the entire law. When Christ fulfilled the law, he fulfilled it on our behalf. Ceremonial, civil, moral. He fulfilled it all. Continue.
In that sense, it's been fulfilled in Christ. The moral nub of the law, which is restated in the New Testament as the law of Christ, is continuous with the Old Testament 10 Commandments, and that's still binding on us. But
can you imagine that? It's still binding on us. Nowhere in the Bible does it separate the corresponding judgments for transgression of the moral law, let's say the 10 Commandments. So what he's saying is those 10 are still binding. Well, are the corresponding judgments? You were to be put to death for adultery. You committed in your heart. Are you to be put to death? Have you broken the Sabbath? You were to be put to death. So what he's doing is he's saying, well, those ones are binding on us, but the judgments are not. No, we can't put to death adulterers. Some Reconstructionists, he's not actually following strict Presbyterianism, or at least Reconstructionism, theonomy to its full degree. But he's being terribly inconsistent here. Now, God rest his weary soul. He's passed away. But let me tell you something. This is critical. This is what is being taught in Calvinistic or Reformed circles, and is being taught in Catholic circles and the vast majority of Protestant circles. This idea that, it's binding. The moral code is binding on us, but not the corresponding judgments. How perfect do you have to be? If you've transgressed in one of the points of the law, you've transgressed all of them. Cursed is the one, Galatians says, who does not continue in all the things of the law to do the things contained therein. Cursed. You're cursed. Let's continue.
I've just been reading through Calvin on this in his Institutes. He says every one of the 10 Commandments he believes actually also enjoins an inner heart attitude as well. So thou shalt not kill does mean love your neighbor. And so that's the reason why he would say to obey the law means to look for an inner change in my heart as well.
Right. So we love the doctrine of justification.
We do.
Which is God's imputing an alien righteousness to us through faith.
Which, by the way, nice phrase, common among reformers, alien righteousness. It's true. It's not our righteousness. So what part of the law has he imputed? If he has imputed an alien righteousness of the ceremonial parts of the law, which Keller just said he did, right? He fulfilled that part. What does he mean by fulfilled? He fulfilled it to impute it. But did he do that with the moral code as well? Did he do that with the civil code as well? It's all part and parcel.
Alone. Faith alone.
Yes.
And then the Westminster Standards say the faith that justifies is never alone, but is always accompanied by all its graces.
Yes.
So what's in your...
It's accompanied by its graces, or it's accompanied by its works. See, what they want to do is they want to translate works into graces. Well, now, before we were Christians, it was works. But now, obedience, our obedience is graces. Well, how many times graces? Paul said he was obedient perfectly concerning the law, blameless, he said. But it was all filthy rags. We know that. But so what happens in the New Testament? Come faith in Christ, we're justified by faith, declared innocent, declared righteous. And so, how much of the law do we have to obey in the moral code in order to be declared a Christian? How many times? Do I obey it most of the time throughout the day? Part of the time? You see, as I was having a discussion with Tullian Shavidjian, we were discussing this issue of who reveres the law more. People like us who say, no, it's impossible. We're breaking the law all the time. Or people like them who are like piecemealing it, smorgasbording it, picking and choosing. Which laws, or in number? How many times do I obey it? You violate it just once, you've broken 10, you've broken them all. So that's 10 right there if you just lust in your heart. You've broken them all. You're guilty of all, transgressing all the points, according to James 2:10.
How is justification imperative different from sanctification imperative? Are they both necessary for final salvation? And if so, are they necessary in the same way? I mean, I think a lot of people stumble over...
Okay. Are they both necessary? What's curious to me is the look on Tim Keller's face. I'm not sure. As if that's even questionable. As if it's questionable. Look at the look on his face when Piper asks the question again.
Are they necessary in the same way? Necessary for final salvation? And if so, are they necessary in the same way? I mean, I think a lot of people stumble over... Yeah. Okay, I understand. I'm a sinner. I need forgiveness. I'm a sinner. I need righteousness imputed to me. Okay, I believe. I trust. And then this preacher stands up, Piper or whoever, and he says, "There's a holiness without which you won't see the Lord." Now, I take that passage to mean there are behaviors and attitudes that if you persist in, you go to hell.
That is salvation by works, hands down. That is salvation by works. If you persist in it, in certain behaviors, really, do you see how dangerous that is? That is vile. It is abominable. Now, bless his heart, I know he's struggling. He's got to be struggling internally. And I honestly, sometimes you watch people when they preach and you kind of go, this guy's going through some issues. And don't get me wrong, we all go through issues. But if you truly believe that in your heart, you are in turmoil. You are in agony inside. Think about it. Listen to what he says. It's blatant salvation by works, but he would never say that. Listen.
There are behaviors and attitudes that if you persist in, you go to hell.
What part of that do you not understand? There are behaviors and attitudes that if you persist in, you go to hell. Do you have pride every day? That's idolatry. That's breaking the command. You shall have no other gods before me. You break that command every day. That's called persistence, folks. That's persistence. That's practicing sin. That is idolatry. It is self-worship. That's what pride is. A haughty look. Pride. It's idolatry. We commit blasphemy and idolatry every day, and he's persisting in it. If you'd ask him the question, do you sin every day? Do you have pride every day? Yes, I do. So you break the law every day. You persist in it. Buddy, you're going to hell by your own standards.
There are behaviors and attitudes that if you persist in, you go to hell. Mm-hmm. And they say...
And Tim Keller says, come on. Hey, we'll continue this in part 2 as I evaluate and critique this discussion of two very well-known reformers. Theologians. They're known as theologians. And this isn't to disregard their affirmations of grace, but their affirmations of grace just fall flat, and they create so much fear in the Christian's heart when they assert these doctrines like they have been asserting. So I will see you in part 2. If you have not already done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel ncmilive. And if you've been blessed and strengthened in your faith through these messages, please consider supporting us at either www.patreon.com/ncmilive or scan one of the following QR codes: Venmo, PayPal, or the easiest way is through Zelle, which is an instant transfer and has no fees to the donor or the recipient. Our code is 928-614-0143. We appreciate your prayers and support.